Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Piglet here from the likes of the Merxy Toys videos, and ladies and gentlemen, we are presenting you our brand new Let's Play for our YouTube channel, and this might be a little bit more interesting for you guys. For those of you who haven't noticed about this little title, is the fact that we are going to be playing this familiar game that's been out for almost 10 years. Jeez. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are presenting you our brand new Let's Play for our channel, and that is the forms of Rabbids Go Home. This game was first released in the Nintendo Wii back in 2009, and I believe also the Nintendo DS also around in 2009 as well. But, you know how the fact that with the forms of the Rabbids series of games, well, they first normally did that in the forms of a party game syndrome, by the forms of Rayman Raving Rabbids 1, 2, and TV Party, but those were just the party games and all that stuff. This game is actually incredibly different than any other kind of Rabbids games in the past, including by the forms of you know, Raving Rabbids Travel in Time from the Nintendo Wii in 2010, but even then though, I'll explain more details about the actual gameplay of it once we get started throughout the game. And as you can see right there, I've actually managed to get myself new game files, as you can see right there, because it's been about almost a decade since I actually touched the game. So even then though, let's get this thing started right there. And of course, as I said this before, I am Piglet from the forms of this particular YouTube channel. I'm also able to actually put in my name on here in case if we're about to get things started from this point. And I know for the fact that this might be a little bit of a semi-blind playthrough, just because, well, for the most part though, I just haven't really touched the game for almost a decade ago now. And especially noticeable how the fact that I normally go for other games rather than just be forms of this for some reason. So anyway, let's get started right there. And I'm presuming that of course this game actually requires you to play the Wii remote and a nunchuck at the same time, so naturally speaking that's how it usually goes. What? Oh, unknown. Okay, I think this might be something to do with the forms of that specific programming and stuff like that. So it's nothing like the Wii remote controls are broken, but even then though, before you start your main adventure, you can able to actually just fiddle around with the Rabbid itself by shaking the Wii remote, because literally the actual Rabbid, as you can see right there, is actually inside the actual Wii remote itself, which is kind of cool looking. I kind of wish there's more to it than that, but hey. Alright, so to get things started by the forms of a tutorial level, if anything else, to get used to how the actual main mechanics of the game, including some of these control schemes as well. But even then though, as you can see, we're going to be taking control of not only one, but, well, we're going to be normally controlling one Rabbid, as you can see right there, because the other one is going to be standing on top of the forms of the actual, having a real fun ride with the actual trolley. So anyways, your team is ready. You can start adding stuff to your pile. Hurry up, hold the A button to accelerate and catch up with the base band, or brace band, I should say. So, this is how the actual game itself works. Controls-wise, as I said this before, and especially noticeable if you already know about this game for almost a decade years ago. Well, usually 1 decade ago or something like that. Basically, this game requires you to able to play not only by the forms of the Wii remote, which we'll get into that in a moment, well, I'll discuss more into that later, but this game requires you to able to use the Wii remote and a nunchuck combo. You know, like games like, you know, kind of like the same thing by the forms of Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2, but that game well, that game came out after this was existent, so collect 50 circle stuff to start your pile. So yes, this is what the main objective in this game, how it works, is the fact that, as you can see, that obviously we need to collect most of the stuff. And then as you can see, that we need to go all the way from that specific sewer pipe over there. But before I get into this, however, though, I need to get those little whole bunch of stuff and all that, just in case if I need to, you know, gather more items here and there, and let's start throughout the entirety of this section. It's worth noting for. So yeah, you can also manage to able to, well, I'll explain the controls a bit whenever we start this Let's Play up. Normally, by the fact of the matter is, though, as I said this before, this game requires you to able to use the Wii remote and a nunchuck combo, whilst new forms, if you ever play with the Wii remote on its own, that could be activate a 2-player mode. You know, kind of like how we did in Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2, as I said this before. But, the thing is about the forms of this game compared to any other platformer games out there, that you can't actually jump in this game, just like any forms of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker and all that stuff. But all you do instead is that you can able to take control of the actual trolley, you know, like normally most kids these days, they always trying to play around with the trolley, which I know it sounds a little bit more, I don't know why I truly say that, but even then, no, that's as far as I think it was. So anyway, got them all. You need at least 50, remember? So yes, the main objective in this game, and actually the main plot of this game, is the fact that, well, after the events of the forms of, oh yeah, the scene coming up. You know, most of these items usually retain some of these scenes that you can definitely see that we've got ourselves the octopus or a squid or anything like that. And then basically, every time you actually grab the new item, sometimes the Rabbids were able to interact with the new items, which, sure, this might be something a little bit more of a humor or charm for one form or another, but even then, that again, these Rabbids were first appeared in the forms of the original Rayman Raving Rabbids game on the Nintendo Wii, and also a multitude of platforms as well. So, yeah, you get the idea. So now we're going to be moving on to the next section right there, according to the actual, you know, graffiti paint, and yeah, that's how we can able to go actually access to the next area. And this is where the game starts to get pretty easy at one form or another, because of, you know, there aren't any obstacles here and there up until this section right here. That the fact of the matter is, though, we're now going to be introducing to ourselves the forms of tilting platforms, because, you know, kind of like how we did in the forms of the Super Monkey Ball obstacle courses, basically, except that rather than take control of the ball, instead you have to take control of the actual trolley. So, anyways, back into the controls real quickly. Basically, how the fact of the matter is, though, is that you have to use the control stick to maneuver around the trolley, obviously, because that's how normally most games seems to do with these kinds of controls like this. And you hold down the A button to be able to accelerate, kind of like the racing game or something, except, well, you don't ride a car or anything. Instead, you have to take control of the trolley or anything like that. And also by the forms of, you know, when you're trying to shake the Wii remote and a nunchuck as well, you can able to actually perform a bar, you know, blah attack. So even then, though, that as you saw, by the forms of like certain animals you can also manage to collect, buddy forms of the octopus, as far as you already know. That way you're able to actually stun them. So you can then know that if you really want to, gather every single part of the game, best be sure to able to actually just use that attack wisely. So you can then know that very easy to pull off, and just like the spin attack from Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2, that you can actually use that attack with both not only the Wii remote but also the nunchuck as well. So even then, that's actually pretty cool actually. So even then, whenever I first saw this game, oh yes, another scene here. And that right there is the radio box. So even then, that way we can able to actually just see any kind of special items here. Are you sure you have 50 circled stuff? Well, pick it up as many as you can. So, it doesn't matter how many items you might as well gather in this particular stage worth noting for. I believe the only maximum stuff you can only grab in the forms of a tutorial level is that we need to collect about, like, let's just say 150 or more. But I'm not entirely sure on that because, again, it's been almost a decade since last time I played this game. Because I remember I got this game back in Christmas 2009, and I was really hyped for it. So even then, though, that may be curious, able to actually just to see how this game actually plays out. But hey, at least as far as it will go. But anyways, let's go ahead and insert those 50 of those stuff into this little base here. Alright, so naturally we've only got ourselves 100 of those items left, and I have no idea why I've gone back here, though, just because I almost get confused about the forms of the navigation. Well, normally because, it's been a long time since I actually played this game, so I do apologize for my lack of skill or anything. So even then, though, what we can do instead is just we need to go through the fence, and then that way we could able to proceed from here on. So use the sewage pipe straight ahead of you, just down this slope, and go to downtown. There's a ton of stuff there. To get to the moon, we need loads of extra stuff and XL stuff here now as well. So, yeah, go to the town. Yes, of course. And before we do that, however, though, give your stuff to the collector rabbit and get a move on. So naturally, we've only got ourselves 150 stuff at the moment, so yeah. Sharp until you drop. So yes, here we have the first level in the forms of Rabbids Go Home, and as I said this before, sharp until you drop. So naturally, we can now actually explore the rest of the town. See Fernando, that we can able to grab the majority of the stuff as far as you can see on this little circled icons. So, and also we've now actually introduced into ourselves the forms of those light bulbs items, which basically, what that allows you is the fact that as you can see on the bottom left corner, it actually acts out as a health meter. So even then though, kind of like how it did in the forms of, new forms of Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2. I always keep on mentioning those two games, kind of think about it for this playthrough actually. Now the fact of the matter is though, is the fact that, there's going to be a lot of hazards are coming up, especially noticeable by the forms of the later portion of the game, and as a result for that tradition, then yeah, that's all I can really talk about for this point. So yeah, obviously there's not much music in the background at the moment, other than that we can actually explore for the shopping mall. Well, not so much for a shopping mall yet, but more accurately by the forms of, well, I would say for shops, but anyway. Because yeah, at the moment right now, that from the health bar and stuff, that we can only able to add up to like 3 light bulbs at the moment. But when we get to the later portions of the game, much like in the Legend of Zelda games, basically that you can able to actually get even more light bulb health. So even then, that way we can able to actually go ahead. Until we're able to move on to the forms of the later portion of the game, then we can expect it that how the fact of the matter is though is that getting extra bit of health should be not so much of an issue. So yeah, this is how the actual game, the ultimate game score is going to be. So yeah, this is before when he forms of how the fact that not only but he forms of the 4th entry of the forms of the Rabbids series, but well, usually as far as I'm most likely aware of. But this is where before when the forms of the future Rabbids series were able to proceed on, especially noticeable by the forms of, as I said this before, Raving Rabbids Travel in Time back in 2010, and then also by the forms of you know, Rabbids 3D, a 3DS platformer in the forms of based off from Travel in Time. And also all kinds of other games like the forms of one for the Kinect game and Rabbids Rumble, and especially noticeable for Rabbids Land, and especially noticeable by the forms that they actually got themselves a TV show of it by the forms of Rabbids Invasion. So I think I've saw those quite a few times, well not quite as often as the forms of these days nowadays, because this is where the actual point where a lot of people seem to think that the Rabbids will actually become very similar to, well, at least until when it gets to like, I would say in 2010 that there was actually a film called Despicable Me, that how the fact that they actually introduced the Minions, which are very much like the exact same personalities as the forms of the Rabbids as far as I'm aware. And the only major differences between the two, you know, franchises, oh Christ, I got hurt by these little heat projectors. Anyway. So yeah, this is what the actual, like, the difficulty in this game will come into play, is the fact that you weren't able to actually avoid as many of those stuff as possible, but, if you manage to lose all of your health, you don't get a game over or anything like that. Instead, you're able to actually respawn into the last checkpoint you've already got into. You know, kind of like how it did in the forms of, you know, before when Super Mario Odyssey exists on the Nintendo Switch, and especially noticeable with, you know, Sonic Forces as well, because those two games also doesn't have extra lives, but, like, yeah, that's what I can really think about, other than just lose your score based or anything like that. Like in Sonic Forces, you'll lose a few points every time you actually retry them, and especially noticeable by the forms of 10 coins from Super Mario Odyssey as well, so even then as worth mentioning for this part. Would you just get back here? Thank you. Jeez, these people, man, they always trying to able to get in your way sometimes. Well, usually just trying to able to, well, trying to run away from you for the majority of it, but I digress. But again, I do apologize by the forms of the lack of uploading schedules in the most certain times, people, just because, as you might expect it, because of how the fact that I was really darn busy and all that stuff. Especially noticeable how the fact that, well, recently I've managed to able to unplug my Sega Saturn from now on though, from my TV at this point, because I've now managed to hook up my PlayStation 2, and especially noticeable for the Xbox 360 as well. Because of that, we might actually go back into Banjo-Tooie for about several months delay, and even by the forms of like almost a 2-year delay. Well, usually kind of like how we did in the forms of Luigi's Mansion kind of thing about it. But I'm hoping that Banjo-Tooie Let's Play Continuous department will be able to be still ongoing, but even then though, that hopefully we'll get a chance. Kind of thing about it though is the fact that I did not notice that these Rabbids didn't seem to able to keen on by the forms of like several moments as like this, whatever they trying to smack the doll's head into the actual trolley itself. Anyway, out of all the actual Rabbids games I've actually played, not only by the forms of Rayman Raving Rabbids, and especially Rayman Raving Rabbids 2 and TV Party, which are honestly, my nostalgia by the forms of the party games, I think these are the only good ones. Well, for the three of them anyway, because when it gets to travel in time, I will admit though right away, it becomes incredibly underwhelming in my opinion, just because it doesn't feel as masterful, or in this case good, as the forms of the previous three games. Well, at least in this game, that this is actually one of my favorite Rabbids games out of all of them. Well, next to by the forms of the most recent Rabbids game that I've actually announced back in about a year ago, and that is the forms of Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle for the Nintendo Switch. Oh god, I forgot about this part. Basically, this where we introduce it to ourselves is probably the most trickiest obstacle in the game in my opinion. Phew, you're safe from that neat bot, huh? Or neat bot here, I should say. And, obviously, if you remember by the forms of, well, I don't know exactly what you would call it, but even then, though, basically in these kinds of sections is the fact that when you're going to be doing some stealth sequence. Like, every time you actually land on the safe spot, like these little stripy platforms as you can see right there, basically, this meant how the fact that you will be safe, so, oh, shoot. And yeah, that's what happens if you manage to get sucked into the forms of the neat bars. Basically, rather than just automatically die on you, instead you can able to actually just get back into where the checkpoint is. Even though the reason why I've accidentally just died from here, or in this case just got hit from here, is because I need to gather most of the stuff. So I probably might as well try my best to able to gather every single items, but even then I'll definitely have to find out as soon as we're able to proceed to this game, because even then, in order to actually get ourselves the, you know, the best ranking of the entirety of the game, in this case in the later levels, you must able to collect everything. I would guarantee I'm probably not going to reach up to the forms of the, you know, the definition of the highest score possible, but I'll try my best to kind of think about it, because even then, once I've reached that high enough, then I would able to actually just dominate it for myself for these parts. So, but yeah, yeah, that's what I can really say about the forms of, oh no, no, don't you dare, oh phew, that almost gonna throw me off. Thanks a lot, neat boss, you trying to murder me. But anyway. Alright, so we got ourselves the most mandatory item in the forms of this level, which appears to be this particular familiar, well, I would say a spacecraft or anything like that, I'm not entirely sure. But anyways, yeah, you see those 4 present icons? I'll get into more details on that later. Alright, the XL stuff, that's toilet straight onto up ahead. Alright, so it turns out the actual toilet was actually the goal of the actual levels, even with the majority of the levels themselves as well. So there's kind of convenience there. But anyways, before we get to this half though, before we reach at the very end of a level, we need to gather as many of those stuff as we've already mentioned. And basically, in the end, sorry, I can't speak today for this point, folks, I do apologize for that. Basically at the very end, we need to basically dodge those little cactuses, and again, if you get hit several times, then you would able to actually guarantee to watch your health. So even then though that, again, that, you know. Alright, so let's dash forward a little bit while dodging for those cactuses, and be sure to able to drift along just fine, and once we get to this point here, we are done. Gee, no wonder why it's gonna fit into the actual small toilet. Jeez. Well, it didn't manage to budge in there. And as you can see, every time you collect those presents, that basically will actually give you certain unlockable, well, stuff here. So even then though, that we've actually got ourselves our sweet ranks. So as you can see, the highest rank you can get is the forms of 1000, you know, 1000 stuff. But unfortunately though, I don't get a chance to do that just because, well, it's impossible, I'm telling you. And by the way, you're going to be seeing this scene a lot. Even then though, it always reminds me like this scene can be evolved around the loading times of the game. Just because, well, you're going to be seeing this screen, or in this case, this particular scene a lot throughout this playthrough. Welcome to Center City. You won't find any XL stuff here, but there are several exits that lead you to areas with tons of X, S, and XL stuff. Alright, so each new stuff place will give you access to even more missions. So follow the arrows and they'll lead you right to a new stuff place. So, I'm afraid for this point, guys, I think I'm probably gonna have the endings off at this point right there. So yeah, join me next time on Let's Play Rabbids Go Home. Is the fact that we're gonna be able to continuously grabbing more stuff and able to actually access to more missions. So yeah, see you guys next time. Later, fellas.